Adjust length of stitch. You might not have realized that the different types of clothes that you wear are made with different types of stitch length. It is important that you have to choose different stitch lengths according to the fabric you use for sewing. The stitch length also becomes important when you have to stitch a seam for holding the fabrics together. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify and use the correct stitch for a given fabric, list out the occasions when one needs to use a particular stitch. In general terms, lightweight fabrics require a short stitch. You can identify short stitch by first measuring 2.5 centimeters of a stitch, and then counting the number of stitches in that length. It will be a short stitch if there are 16 to 20 stitches within the 2.5 centimeters that you measured. Generally, medium weight fabrics need a medium stitch. You can identify a medium stitch by first measuring 2.5 centimeters of a stitch, and then counting the number of stitches in that length. It will be a medium stitch if there are 12 stitches within the 2.5 centimeters that you first measured. In the same way, heavyweight fabrics usually want a long stitch. You can identify a long stitch by first measuring 2.5 centimeters of a stitch, and then counting the number of stitches in that length. It will be a long stitch if there are 8 to 10 stitches within the 2.5 centimeters that you measured up first. However, if it is for machine basting and machine gathering, you will need a still longer stitch. In order to confirm that you have got a very long stitch first, measure 2.5 centimeters of the stitch you made, and then make sure that the number of stitches within it is from 6 to 8. Now, let us see the types of stitches that you will need for seams and hemming. For seams, you will have to choose shorter stitch lengths because it has to hold two pieces of cloth together under tension. For hemming, you can use longer stitches. Longer stitches look nicer, but are not as strong as shorter stitches. With that, we come to the end of this class. Let's recall what we have learnt. Lightweight fabrics generally require a short stitch. Medium weight fabrics generally need a medium stitch. Heavy weight fabrics usually want a long stitch. Choose shorter stitch lengths for seams. Choose longer stitches for hemming. You have learnt about different stitches that you will need to use while sewing. Keep it always in mind that it is very important to choose the right type of stitch for the fabric that you use. Take our next class to learn how you can do daily maintenance of your treadle sewing machine.